All right, we're back to our regularly scheduled programming here on Hot Mic on this Tuesday morning. Apologize for the little delay there. We had a power bump in the studio, lost power, but we're back. Thanks to the engineers for coming in here and helping us out, get everything back up in order, and we can continue on here with the show on this Tuesday morning. Again, Sam Getzinger filling in for Dom Izzo today. Dom should be back in here tomorrow. We mentioned it earlier. Want to continue our football conversation here, and mentioned it was scrolling through X yesterday and saw the announcement on Spencer Waege retiring from football. So we figured it'd be good to have him on and have a little walk down memory lane here on this Tuesday. So let's welcome in Spencer on the show here this morning. Spencer, thanks for taking some time today. Describe what this time has been like since the announcement to now, and what went into making the decision.
Yeah, it's been really cool. Just everyone that's kind of reached out and has, just said that they had fun watching me play, fun following my career through, high school to the pros, and just kind of seeing again all the support that I really had throughout the years. It just kind of meant a lot. And, obviously the decision wasn't an easy one. Like I've said, like I knew the day was going to come, and, I knew I wasn't going to get to play forever. And it just kind of finally hit that point, where I felt like it was time. I needed to be home, and I ain't going to go into all the details of everything that played into it, but it was mainly time to be back home.
Well, it was a fantastic career, no doubt about that. And you posted the announcement on social media yesterday, and there's a line in there that I really enjoyed, and it's the fact that you can look back at your younger self who always wanted to, be a professional football player to growing up, and you can now look back and realize that you did that. Has that sunk in yet? Have you taken a moment to realize, like, man, I did all this stuff in my football career?
Yeah, I have. For the last, probably month or so now, I've really kind of just been looking back on a lot of it, reflecting, and it is kind of just crazy to think, because I see, my mom's got different photos around the house of me when I was little wearing, NFL gear and, playing football. And it's just like kind of crazy to think about. Yeah, at that time it was like, that was just a dream and something that I wanted to do. And, every little kid has that dream of playing professional sports or being part of a professional team. And so now to fully say, like, that I did that, I was a part of the team. I did everything that I dreamed of doing when I was little. I don't know what younger me would really say, but I know he'd be happy.
That's awesome to hear. I want to walk down memory lane a little bit more with you on this Tuesday morning. Spent 6 years at NDSU. You're one of the most decorated players in Bison football history. When you look back at that time in your life, what do you remember most of your time here in Fargo?
That it went too fast, even though I was there for 6 years. No, obviously, like you got the like you mentioned some of the accolades and just kind of stuff like that. But when I look back, I remember just the teammates, the coaches, the relationships that I built. It was stuff like that just it made showing up every day just so much more fun. And just even the stuff outside of football that you gotta just build those relationships, like I said, with your teammates, and just get so close to everybody over those 6 years that you were there, and just not only the teammates that I met, but then like all the parents that you met through it, and just everyone, the spider web that trickles down of everybody that you meet and got to see. And it was just stuff like that I look back and I'm just like, that's kind of the stuff I'm really going to miss. And obviously I'm going to miss playing in the games, and I'll miss playing in the Fargo Dome and all that stuff. But, just the relationships that I had built through my time there, it's just something that'll always be special to me.
I know you've mentioned it before, but give us the story of how you ended up at NDSU. What went into the decision to come here?
Yeah, so no, it's always kind of funny because, I always just kind of assumed when I was in high school, especially in my earlier years, that I was going to end up at SDSU. That was kind of the in-state team. And, and I honestly, I didn't know a lot even about NDSU, even though I'm not that far away. Other than I knew they were winning national championships. That was kind of about it. But I remember I kind of got into the recruiting process, and, SDSU had reached out, some smaller schools in the area had reached out and stuff. Didn't really know, what was going to happen. It was obviously, not too many people before me in Watertown had kind of got recruited like this. So it was kind of some uncharted territory. It was just kind of figuring out as I went. And I remember I was in a study hall class in high school, and I looked at my phone and I had a follow from Tyler Roll. And I was just like, well, what the heck, NDSU? And I remember I looked at it and, followed him back and started getting the messages from him and all this stuff, and kind of just started that recruiting process. And, went up to NDSU on a junior day, and it was, even my parents will say it. They're like, from the first time I was up there, they knew that's where I was going to go. They could just tell I fell in love with the place. And then it was, would have been later in the spring. I had a camp down in Sioux Falls, like a combine type camp. And, T-roll was at that. And it wasn't long after doing that, I had a phone call with Kleiman for offering me a scholarship to come up there and play. And I might as well have just told him I was going to commit right there, because I knew I was, but waited a little bit, and then ended up committing before the end of my junior year of high school. And, the rest is history from there.
Exactly right. It all worked out pretty good. As you mentioned, those 6 years were pretty fantastic. We just saw a video up on the screen here as well. You're no stranger to coming back here to NDSU after you've left. What's it like coming back here now that you're an alumni of this Bison football program, and just to see that they're continuing this success since you've been gone?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I love Fargo. It's always going to be a place I consider home. And like I said, seeing the success that that place is still having and will continue to have, it speaks volume about the culture and the type of program that it really is up there. Especially in this age of college sports, it's not easy to have that carry over year after year after year. And the fact that NDSU is still doing it and doing it the right way just speaks volumes about that program.
So after your time was done at NDSU, you go on to make a run at the NFL, stops in San Francisco and in Green Bay. Describe your thoughts on what it was like in that time frame in the NFL.
Yeah, going out to San Fran right away. Didn't know what I'd think of California. That was a little different for me right away. But, by the time that, I was done out there, that I kind of fell in love with that place too. That's always going to be a place I hope to get back and visit someday, just to see everything again. I thought it was just everything there was to do out there. I thought it was so cool. But then that organization itself, talk about people that do it the right way and try to bring in the right people to benefit the players. And the relationships even out there that I built with guys on the team in the front office and stuff like that. It was something, again, going back to the dream of when I was a little kid, that just never thought I would, do. And even on that, my retirement post that I put out yesterday, seeing guys from the Niners that would comment or texted me about it, and, just still knowing that those connections are still there.
You were part of that 49ers team that won the Super Bowl. Describe what it was like being a part of that organization as that year was going on. I imagine that had to have been crazy.
Yeah. So, obviously there were some ups and downs even with that, going through camp, got released at the end of camp, and then being called back and having to try out again and signed a practice squad. But yeah, once I was back, right around the mid part of the season, I kind of make jokes with people. That was one of my favorite, seasons playing football. Just because, like I said, first year being in the pros, and then just the D-line room that we had, the group of guys in there. I heard stories that usually, that it's not as close as it is college. Like, it's always just going to be a little different in that sense. It's more of a business, and there is a lot of truth to that still. But, sitting in that room in there, I think there were 6 or 7 former first round picks or something like that in there. But it was just stuff like you never would have known it. Like, everyone in there was just how you kind of always expected, kind of a, like a locker room type feeling to be. Like, that's how it was. That's how it was from the coach to the player, to all the players in the room. It made it so much more enjoyable to kind of be a part of, just because it was a lot more close knit. And then obviously we got, season went on, and we were, we had ended up with the 1 seed, had the first round bye, got to the playoffs, and the playoff games that year, I think, took years off my life because they were so stressful watching. Each one of them was a close nail biter or come from behind wind. And then, yeah, getting to, go to a Super Bowl my first year in the NFL was, never would have even dreamt that would have even happened.
Yep.
And obviously we fell short of, getting a ring, but just to be there and to be at that, one of the biggest games in sports, right on the sideline, in the action. That was just surreal, dream come true. And just, something I, again, never thought that I would truly get to do.
I'm going to put you on the spot. What would you take, that experience or the experience of the FCS national championships?
I mean, just because I was playing in the
Yeah,
FCS championships games, I'm going to say that. But I mean, the Super Bowl, I mean, it's right up there with it.
I figured that would be the answer. I figured that would be the answer. For obviously, you've reached levels that a lot of athletes will not get to in their career, and even playing in preseason games is a really remarkable feat. What's it like playing in a game like that? Are the nerves through the roof? I've been thinking about this over the last couple of days. I feel like they would be.
Yeah, no, and there's there's a lot of nerves with it. Just and even for guys who are in my position that are in the UDFA spot who are you're doing everything you can to fight for some sort of roster spot. I mean, those games are literally your Super Bowl because you're the one you got to make the team. You got to go do all this, and you're the one that's you're going to be getting probably more of the snaps and the veteran guys, and so the nerves are definitely high. And but at the end of the day, too, it's it's still football. It's what you've trained for your whole life. So that always helps or helped me at least kind of falling back on that. But no, there's definitely a lot of nerves with it, even though, like I said, it's the preseason game.
Well, it's been pretty well documented that you've done a lot of work on your family farm, whether it be in the off season or just when you get some downtime in South Shore, South Dakota. Is that what's next for you? What are the plans moving forward?
Yeah, no. So, like I said, I've loved farming all my life, and that's going to be always what I do to some capacity. And there is some other stuff that I've kind of looked at just to kind of stay a little more busy in the downtime of farming, but nothing's been set in stone yet, so I don't want to say anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, yeah, I'm gonna be farming back here and loving every second of it.
That's awesome. How much you looking forward to getting back into the swing of that?
I can't wait. That's one of the hardest things being gone with football all the time because you're busy in the fall doing stuff. You miss out on harvest. And college, when it came to the spring, you had your workouts, spring ball. You weren't, I wasn't around for calving, planting hardly ever. So the busiest times of year, you always were gone and had to miss. So
Yep.
It's going to be nice to be back for just everything now.
What kind of operation you guys running down there?
We got crops, and then we do cow calf as well.
Okay, awesome. Good deal. I wanted to ask you this, too, of course, being from South Dakota. Gray Zabel from Pierre, South Dakota, just got drafted in the first round. The level of talent in South Dakota is growing, wouldn't you say, especially at the high school level? Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Just even spending my time doing my workouts at the high school in Watertown, just seeing even the colleges that would come through there that would be wanting to talk to different kids coming up through Watertown, and I would sit there, I'd look at my high school football coach, and I'd just be like, we didn't have any big colleges come through here when I was a senior. So I mean, like I said, obviously we had the North Dakota States, South Dakota States, your area schools, but to get, like I said, the Kansas States or Minnesota's or just Power 4 schools to come through and look at kids or just talk to them on through the recruiting process. I mean, it's kind of just cool to see that people are starting to realize that there's some talent in South Dakota.
You're only a couple of years removed away from NDSU, but as you follow along with the Bison, and obviously that comes with following along with the state of college football, is it crazy to see how much things have changed in just the 3 years since you've been gone?
It is. It seems like it's a whole different animal from when I was there. And there's a part of me that's glad I was done when I was done. So I didn't have to because some of it honestly seems like a little bit of a headache for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's a part of me too that it would have been nice to get paid a little bit while playing. But I'm glad I got to experience, college football for what it was for so long.
You hoping to stick around the game of football a little bit, just here and there?
Yeah, no, like I said, I'll never be able to not be, have it a part of me. But to what extent that'll look like moving forward, I guess we'll see. But it'll always be a part of me. Well,
Spencer, congratulations on a fantastic career, especially here at NDSU and then on at the pro level. Best of luck with everything you got going moving forward, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Spencer Waege joining us here on this Tuesday morning. Thanks so much for joining us once again, and fantastic career. Here at NDSU, playing 6 years, winning 4 national titles, and then going on to the NFL ranks, which is Pretty hard to do. No doubt about that. There is some other retirement news we want to get to a little bit later on in the show as well, coming out of the NHL ranks. So we will make sure to do that after a little bit here, probably after our next break as we get ready for hour number 2. Again, that conversation with Spencer Waege brought to you by Northwestern Mutual on this Tuesday morning. Made it through that. No power bump. I think we're good to go. So we will take that. We're back on the air. We're ready to roll. Hour number 2 coming on in just a couple of moments here on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV in Sioux Falls, KNBN in Rapid City, and also streaming on Inforum.com.